All right. Okay. So Shalom once again, continuing the Halachot of Mukseh, but beforehand I just read a story about Rabbi Aryeh Levine. I'm sure you're all familiar with Zichrono Livracha. Rabbi Aryeh Levine. He was known as the father of the Asirim, the prisoners. He would go in Yerushalayim to the prison, take care of all the Jewish prisoners by the British government, and everybody loved him. So one time he spent Shabbat with the prisoners. So one of them comes to him and says, because of you, I don't smoke on Shabbat. He says, really? Why? How? He says, a few weeks ago, I was smoking a cigarette and I saw you coming towards me on Shabbat. So I held the cigarette behind me. And he walked over and he shook my hand and he said, Shabbat Shalom. He says, the more you shook my hand, the more the cigarette was burning through my hand. I was like, how can I? He's telling me Shabbat Shalom without realizing I'm holding a cigarette on Shabbat in my hand. How can I do this? I swore to myself, I'm never going to smoke on Shabbat. It's amazing, what it does. One warm Shabbat Shalom, you tell someone what effect it could have on him forever. All right, continuing on. Short story. It was a short story because we were starting late. Continuing on with Halachot of Mukseh, we were still in the Keli She Melachto Leheter. Everyone remember what the Keli She Melachto Leheter was? This is something, a Keli, it has to be a vessel, but the usage of it is mutar, like a spoon, fork, a plate, a pitcher, a broom. Broom is a Keli She Melachto Leheter because we are allowed to sweep floors that are not dirt. We're allowed to sweep them, or you want to sweep the carpet, that also you're allowed to. So a broom is a Keli She Melachto Leheter. Keli She Melachto Leheter you could use, but you can't just play for no reason with it. We said if someone is a very nervous person and they have to play with something, otherwise they go crazy, that's fine. You could play with something on the table. But what other examples of Keli She Melachto Leheter do we have? This one is a fun one. Soap, according to Rabbi Eliashiv, it's being that it's asur to use soap on Shabbat, so therefore, because it's memareach, so therefore it's asur to move it. It's absolutely mukseh, not just mukseh machmat gufo, which we're going to get to. It's like a rock. You have no use for it. It's not a kli, so therefore it is asur to move a soap on Shabbat without setting aside before Shabbat. I'm going to use this soap as a door stopper, let's say, or whatever. A bar of soap. We're talking about not liquid soap, a bar of soap. And according to Shemei Shabbat Keirchatau, which is usually based on Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, he says that no, it's a Keli She Melachto le'isur because it's not a memareach, it's not a isur Torah, but it could be molid, it could be other things on Shabbat. Therefore, it's Keli She Melachto le'isur, meaning therefore you could move it letzorach gufo umkomo. There is a difference. You could move it if you need the space where it's at. According to Maran, according to Rav Ovadia, you could use soap on Shabbat. It's none of these isurim, right?
Bar soap?
Bar soap.
Really?
Yeah.
Ashkenazim or...
We talked about it. That one.
I didn't hear that.
A bar of soap, according to Rav Ovadia, it's neither nolad, it's neither memareach, it's none of the above, and therefore one is allowed to use it. He says, if you want to be choshesh, you want to be fearful for the other people, you want to be machmir upon yourself, fine, but just know that it is allowed to be used on Shabbat. You could use soap on Shabbat, right? Even a bar of soap. Okay, but everybody's looking like you never heard it.
I think we all missed that.
that.
Sure.
Ah.
Paul just gave birth.
Okay, yeah, probably. Memareach, you weren't here, probably, right?
Yeah.
Memareach, you were here, right?
Was I? No.
I think no.
No. I've been gone for a while.
So memareach, that's therefore, therefore it's not mukseh. If you want to move it, then it's not even close to mukseh. But for sure, you can't move it for no reason. Person, wants to use it, it's where it's sitting water is dripping on it and it's going to be gone, by after Shabbat. In that case, according to Avadia, for sure you could take it and move it, put it aside, no problem.
Sorry,
According
I know it's
to
my
just-
fault that I wasn't
just-
here, but memariach means smell or like
Oh,
lotion, like move or
not
like lotion?
reach. No, memariach means when you
Creaminess?
smear something,
Right.
right? When you smooth something. It's a melachav. It comes from the melachav memachek, where they would smooth out a leather, to get rid of the hair and to smooth it out. And this becomes a part of it. Really, where memariach is, as we said before, is like a very hard wax. And you take that, there is a hole, let's say in the barrel, and you shove it in that hole, you smooth it out there. That's the isur. That's the isur deoraita. But we said, even if you remember, we said you want a hand cream. If you promise that you're gonna rub it so much that it's gonna be gone, there's not gonna be nothing left. Not in, then even that is fine. The hand cream. That's when we said it.
Huh? You can put
No, wait,
lotion
that's
on?
fine.
See, that's what happens when you miss the class.
Circumstances
No
behind
more
my control.
missing any-
No more giving word.
No, that's true. But it's online. You could go back and check it out.
Wait, you can put on lotion.
If it's a very soft lotion, no problem. If it's one of these harder, a little bit lotion, then you could put it on, but small amounts that it'll get completely and absolutely absorbed into the skin. That you could.
Yeah.
How
Okay.
about olive oil?
Olive oil is a question of refuah. Olive oil is a
Isn't
question.
lotion refuah?
No, not really. It's just
What if, you know,
What if it's
Moisturizer.
medicated?
eczema? Yeah, eczema.
it's
Yeah,
a
that's what kind
moisturizing
of lotion
cream. It's a
I'm talking
moisturizing
about.
cream, and it's fine. It's just moisturizer. It's not a refuah really.
But if it's a medicated cream? it's
That I would have to check. Get
They
back
say
to you on
usually
that.
you're allowed to dab it, like let's say Desitin is thick.
Right.
It's
Desitin
not
is thick, but even Desitin, you put a little bit
on a Q-tip and you dab it.
and you smear it on until it's completely gone, you're fine.
So the key thing
I
is
thought
you
that
have
was
to
what-
let it disappear.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing.
Exactly.
It's not supposed to sit.
The whole
on the skin.
issur of memareach is that you are interested that this area, should be smooth.
Oh, so basically
Right?
you
That's
want
my
the lotion to be absorbed into the skin.
But once it's absorbed, then it's not even memareach. It doesn't
Right.
enter memareach.
So what happened to the whole thing that you're only allowed to dab it? That's like different.
That's a chumrah. That's a chumrah.
'Cause it's
Or
like the exact
it's something
opposite.
it's a very, very thick lotion.
Right.
Then you could dab it in order that it shouldn't be,
Vaseline.
memareach. Yeah.
So like coconut oil, which is solid at room temperature, you can like take a hunk of it and basically.
A very small
Right.
piece, very, very small
Yeah.
piece, and rub it until it's gone, then you could.
Okay.
But wait a minute, we're talking about Halachot Mukseh.
Yeah, but I've never seen one. But this goes into another category. Like how about makeup?
No. Makeup, that's something else. Makeup, you're talking about painting the face. You're actually painting your face. That's
Right.
Soveya, that's other things. No. Sorry.
But I could-
Nice try, but.
Right.
Okay.
Even if it's like a tinted moisturizer,
Right.
because it's
Tinted
coloring.
moisturizer, exactly. Even the non-color is other issues.
Oil is not okay. to rub.
You asked about the olive oil.
Yeah. Like say it's not refuah or whatever.
I heard oil was okay.
Because it's already a liquid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be fine, based on what we said. Yeah, I'm just trying to see, because I remember seeing, but it could be my mind is tainted from Ashkenazi halachot. So I'm like trying to it might be okay. I have to check again to see. I think based on what we're saying, it should be okay. Okay, don't do it yet. We'll check it out. Don't worry. Okay, so soap. There you go. Soap is not mukseh. So therefore, that's another example. Let's say you have pots and pans, right, that you have never used, that you bought them from the store and you have never used. What halachic status do these have? Is it a kerish melachto le'isur, being that you haven't taken it to the mikveh yet, right? Or is it kerish melachto le'heter? What would you say?
You don't have any use for them right now, so you can't use them because you didn't take them to the mikveh, so it's Isser.
So because technically you could take them to the mikveh on Shabbat,
You can't.
as Sephardim, yes. right? Because we could take it to the mikveh. Therefore, it doesn't have it has a status of keli she melachto leheter, right? And it doesn't have a halacha of mukseh. And you could move it. Now you can't use it. You could take it to the mikveh. What it is, we mentioned it in the right shiur back then by Metaken Mana. We mentioned this, that it says in the Mishnah, right? You're not allowed to take a keli to the mikveh. That Mishnah in Shabbat is talking about that the kelim, that these vessels became tameh. They got a tameh status that it's rendered useless before Shabbat. Now you could take it to the mikveh. You cannot on Shabbat take that to the mikveh. But a keli that you bought from a goy, right, in order to add kedusha to it, we're not talking about tum'ah. It's not the tum'ah that is asur from the Torah to use. Therefore, one is allowed to go ahead and take it to the mikveh. This is the Shulchan Aruch. Ashkenazim say no, you can't. They're machmer. Okay, good. With this, we sort of we're done a little bit with the. Let's put aside keli shemelachto leheter and move to keli shemelachto leisur. Before that, sorry. Keli shemelachto leisur. What is keli shemelachto leisur? Any vessel, any keli, that using it on Shabbat is prohibited. The usage of this vessel is prohibited on Shabbat. This is called keli shemelachto leisur. Like a pen, a hammer. These things, what do you use a pen for? For writing. What do you use a hammer for? To knock a nail into the wall. So the melacha of this particular vessel, the usage of this particular vessel is asur on Shabbat. Therefore, one cannot. This is considered keli she melachto leisur. Now, what if this keli, this vessel, is used for both? Is used for isur and is used for heter. Prime example: a pot. A pot you use for cooking. Cooking on Shabbat would be asur. It's one of the 39 melachot. At the same time, a pot could be used for storage. You could use the pot to store your food in, right? In that case, in the fridge, you want to put your food in the fridge. Food in the fridge. You just put it in the pot and put it in the fridge. This is not considered keli she melachto leisur, because certainly part of the usage of this vessel utensil is leheter. This is considered keli she melachto leheter. A pot is something is considered keli she melachto leheter, being that you could store food in the pot. Okay, but a pan, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with a pen? Part of the there is no part of the usage of a pen that is mutar. Therefore, it's absolutely a keli she melachto leisur. Let's say you have a frying pan, right? A frying pan, you don't so much use it for heter. A pot you could store stuff in it, but a frying pan, that's a keli she melachto leisur. Matches, a fan. A fan is a keli she melachto leisur. An umbrella, a nail, scissors, sewing needle.
Scissors you could use to cut a tag off clothing.
That's not the melacha. That's not the usage of a scissors. The usage of a scissors is for sewing purposes.
What about kitchen
You
scissors?
could use it for that. We'll get to that. I'm sorry.
What about kitchen scissors?
If it's set aside to use only for the kitchen to cut food and stuff, that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, one could do that. An eraser, a pencil sharpener, right? These sort of stuff, they're all keli she melachto leisur. What's going on?
Question, sorry.
Yeah,
You can use the scissors to tag the
Right.
the tag.
we said that. We said one could do that. The point is that that's not what it's for. A scissors, mainly you buy scissors because you want to do some sewing, right? So you cut up the cloth and use it for that. To cut the tag, that's a byproduct. That's another thing that you could use it for. But mainly, it's not used for that. Mainly, it's used to cut the thing, the cloth for sewing and so on and so forth, and that's what a person uses it for.
So therefore it's mukseh?
Therefore, it's kelit shemelachto leisur, right? And it's mukseh. You could only move it. The rule of kelit shemelachto leisur is you could only move it letzorach gufo umkomo, right? What does that mean? Letzorach gufo umkomo? Any of these utensils that we just mentioned, or anything anything you could come up with, right? It is asur absolutely to move it mechamal etzel. We already explained that expression. Mechamal etzel means from under the sun into the shade. That means for its own protection. You're afraid that it's going to get stolen. You're afraid that it's going to get ruined or lost. You cannot move it on Shabbat. You cannot move it for that purpose on Shabbat. However, you could move it letzorech gufo. That means you need the guf, the body of this aforementioned vessel, utensil. You could use it for the body. That means you need the scissors because you want to cut the tag that you could use it for, right? You need the hammer to break the walnut, right? For that you could use it. That's called the sorach gufo. Is that clear? You understand?
Isn't that the same thing as leheter?
No. This keli is used leisur. Hammer.
Right, I
it's
understand,
melacha.
but isn't the use
The use of a hammer.
right, I understand that they're two different objects, but aren't you permitted to move it based on the same?
No. Keli shemelachto leheter, you could also move it mechamal etzel. That was, you'd be going down the steps, right? Keli shemelachto leheter, you could use it, you could even move it mechamal etzel. For its own protection, you could move it, right? Your bar of soap, right? For its own protection, the water was dripping on it, it was getting ruined. You could literally take the soap and move it aside, right? If soap would be keli shemelachto leisur, no. If the water was dripping on it, you can't just take it and move it. You have to use some type of a shinui, or tell Mustafa to move it, or find some other trick to be able to move it. Keli shemelachto leheter, you don't need any tricks. For its own protection, you can move it. Keli shemelachto leisur, you can't. Keli shemelachto leisur, you can only use it you could only move it two conditions. Letzorach gufo, right? I.e., you need the scissors to cut the tag. You need the hammer to cut to break the walnut. You need an axe to break. They used to have cakes of figs. You want to break it. There's no way to break it. You need an axe. You take an axe to break it. You take matches. You want to use it as a toothpick. This sort of stuff. Okay, that means that's called the tzorach gufo. What's the tzorach mekomo? Obviously, you have a pen sitting on the chair. You would like to sit on this chair. You could take the pen without any shinui. When we say you could move it, that means without any shinui. You could take the pen, put it now. Once it's in your hand, you could take it and put it anywhere. You can't say, okay, you moved it away from the chair, just drop it. No. Once it's in your hand, beheter, you with allowance, then go ahead, take it and put it in somewhere safe, and that's it. You want to sit at the Shabbat table, there is a scissors on the Shabbat table. Come on, it's not nice Shabbat table. You could take the scissors, this is the tzorach mekomo, and move it, put it in the sewing kit, whatever, where it belongs. And this is called the tzorach mekomo, right? The one could go ahead and move it for this purpose.
So when do you need to
We're going to get to it. Sometimes it's not the tzorach mekomo. And it's not a tzorach gufo, chaim tovim. It's not a tzorach gufo, it's tzorach mekomo. Then what do? Then you need to use shinui. Or other cases, like, if it's a different type of a mukseh, which we're going to get to.
Like if your alarm clock goes off or your phone alarm, do you have to take the shinoi and wrap it up, stick it in the door, or can you just put it nice?
So, very good, excellent. So here, very good question, because that's not tzorach gufo, and it's not tzorach mekomo. You don't want to sit there.
Tzorach gufo, you gotta sleep.
Tzorach gufo is you need the phone to crack open nuts.
You need the object.
Use it. You need the object, but here you need the object out of here, right? Yes, over there you need to pick it up with your two pinkies like this. Make sure you don't touch any buttons, and walk over to the freezer, open the freezer door, and put it in the freezer. Close the shot. Freezer is soundproof. That's all.
It's not gonna ruin it?
No, I don't think so. I hope not.
Such a good idea.
So if it's Kalish
Melacht.
is Isur,
Yes.
then Tzorach Makomo applies or doesn't?
Yes. Kerisha Melachto is Tzorach Gufo, and Tzorach Mekomo you could move it. Tzorach Gufo you need the object itself to use, and Mekomo you need the space where it's on, like the chair, table, whatnot. Like we're gonna get to a little bit more, find out where else we could move it. Let's say you have in your china closet or in your kitchen closet cabinet, I should say, you have your plates, and then right on top of the plates you have a frying pan. What can you do? You need your plates. Take the frying pan, move it aside, and take your plates and use them, because this is the tzorech mekomo. You need the space. You need where this zach is, this thing is, and therefore you could go ahead and move it to a different area where it's not in your way.
Question about the frying pan. Let's say you want to heat up something on the plata and you have only a frying pan. Can you use it?
Right, like
But you're using
Like,
it
I
for
want
what
it
it
You
is.
certainly could.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
alright, okay.
very
So
good,
sorry.
excellent.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
What if a baby has his pen in his hand and you want to take it out of his hand?
So the question is, why do you want to take it out of his hands?
because it's a Sharpie and he's gonna color on the walls.
Yeah.
And therefore,
And it's gonna
My
He
come
life
might
will
hurt
be-
himself.
he might hurt himself. Okay, sakana, you could easily take it away, and that's it.
But do you have to take it away like in a weird way?
No. When
Somewhere?
it's sakana, when you're dealing with sakana, then you could take it and move it. Chachamim never made a gezerah b'mkom sakana. Gemara, this is Gemara Mefurash in Shabbat. It says that kotz b'reshut harabim, there is a thorn in the middle of reshut harabim. It could hurt people. You could take it and move it away. Right? Sakana, there is no gezerah of mukseh by sakana, and then in that case you're fine.
What about the Sharpie?
We're talking about the Sharpie. He could hurt himself, right? If it's like if
No.
it's not the matter of hurting,
He's gonna
then
hurt the house.
then beshinui. You can't easily do it. It has to be done beshinui, because it's not a tzorach gufo. It's not a tzorach
How
mekomos.
do you do drop the Sharpie?
You know,
Like a towel maybe?
very safely hold his hand, until he gets bored and drops it, and then you could beshinui, move it away.
He's gonna be holding on to it the whole Shabbat.
It depends. Then you got to come up with some solution. Beshinui, there's a lot of different ways of shinui. If you could use your elbow, grab it like this, put it.
Yeah, he's stronger than my elbow. What about, can I use like a towel to take it?
A towel, that's cute. That's interesting. Maybe, possibly a towel. Yeah, but your towel is gonna get all black. That's
They find everything.
They do, they find everything. Yeah.
your kids. I don't think they would.
Oh,
Look how they're sitting nicely in the Okay, so we're talking about. So the last thing that we said was using a frying pan. You want to use it to heat something beheter, of course, on Shabbat. It's no less than any pan that you want to use, and therefore it would be allowed to go ahead and move it. Now, check this out. You could move Kirisha Melachto Le'isur. We said Tzorach Gufo Umkomo, right? You need the goof of a Kirisha Melachto Le'isur. You need this hammer. You want to take this hammer to crack open a walnut. Right next to the hammer, there is a nut cracker. Right? You say, no, I want to take the hammer. You're allowed to. Once there is that allowance, you could do it. Right? That's the halakha. The guy wants to, he has fun. He wants to crack it open with a hammer. He doesn't want to use a nut cracker. It's fine, and he could go ahead and do it. How about a spray, right? Spray for off or raid for those from Romalinda. Off is for you don't want to get bitten by bugs, and the raid is for killing cockroaches. These stuff, they are not mukseh, because you don't. First of all, the raid, you don't spray it right onto them. It's like we said before. You could spray it out there, and leave a window open. You give them a chance. I don't want to kill you. I just want you to be out of here. that's fine, and therefore it's not mukseh. And off also, it's not a problem. The whole idea is you just want to get the mosquitoes off of you, and therefore it is not considered mukseh. Good? You missed that
What
shir?
about yeah. Did you say perfume already is
Yeah, it's you can't do it onto the clothing because that's molid reach, but onto the body, a person wants to use a deodorant or a perfume, that's fine. Is that the question?
yes.
And sunscreen is also fine.
Sunscreen is also fine.
It's like off.
Right. It's like off. Now,
But with perfume, you only want to do it onto your skin.
exactly.
What
right.
if your clothes are gonna touch it?
You're not spraying it onto the cloth. You're spraying it on yourself, and then you're wearing the cloth. That's fine. That's fine. You're not being
Even if
molid
it's still
reach.
wet, it's fine?
Yeah, it's not very nice. Molid reach means that you're causing that the reach should stay onto this piece of cloth. This is a grama, if anything. It's not a direct act, and it's fine. One could do it. Now, another method of moving a kiddush melachto leisur that we said that you cannot just move it unless it's letzorach ufo mukomo. But let's say you have a kiddush melachto leisur and it's getting ruined over there. Like how are you gonna move it? There is no tzorach gufo, there is no tzorach mekomo, and it's mechama letzel. We said before you could go ahead and use a shinui in this case with your foot and move it there. Or you could tell a goy to go ahead and move it there. Now, Kiddush melachto leisur, and he wants to move it mechama letzel. Also, he could go ahead. Now, here I have to give an introduction. I think it's better. Gemara Masechet Shabbat says it's an interesting story. Where is it? I think it's on Daf Lamed Gimel, if I'm not mistaken. In the bottom over there, David HaMelech asked Hashem when he's going to leave this world. Hashem says, "Hey, it's a secret. I can't tell you. Please." Hashem says, "Okay, I'll tell you. You're gonna pass away on Shabbat." So David HaMelech would sit and learn the whole Shabbat. So when the time came, he was exactly 70 years old. Time came, he had to go. Malach HaMavet comes, because how am I going to, he couldn't even get close to him because he was learning Torah. You can't get close to him. So he went out to the garden of the castle and he started rattling some trees. David HaMelech wanted to see what's going on. He walked, and as he walked to see, he fell on the steps and passed away. Not the end of the story. Comes Shlomo HaMelech. He is all of 12 years old. What do we do? He goes to the Beit Midrash. He says, Abba mutal b'chama. Father is under the sun. And as you know, a dead body under the sun, not good. On Shabbat. How can I move it? What do you do? So Chachamim says, Yavi tinok or kikar. You could put a baby on him, or a loaf of bread. Through this, he could be moved, right? A dead body is not a kli. It's not a kli. It's not a utensil. So it's not a kli that you can move it. And it's not food either. So it's a real heavy duty mukseh. It's mukseh machmat gufo. That's what a dead body is. And you could move it. However, if you put one of these two objects on him, then you could move it. Okay? So that's introduction. I remember back in the day, years ago in Iran, we never, first of all, our phone was always out of the socket. It was always out on Shabbat, so we had no need. So we had a tenant, and this tenant was not Jewish, and asked that the phone, they definitely need the phone. So for this tenant, we left the phone in. So it was such a pain in the neck, a huge pain in the neck. So one Shabbat, we're all sitting learning the parasha with my father, Zichron Livracha. Phone rings. And the tenant knew, that we're not going to touch the phone. Ran all the way from the third floor, and picked up the phone. He said, "It's for you." What? For us? Everyone knows that. What happened was someone passed away, and they didn't know what to do. He passed away right by the door. Right by the door between the rooms, and they couldn't get through. They were asking what to do. I remember, first of all, my father was very upset. See, we didn't want the phone. Why should we have to hear this? It was like, Zichron Libracha was very sad. And then he said exactly this, put a piece of bread on him, and through that you could move him to a different, to a safe, cooler area, and so on and so forth. And that was the Gemara in Shabbat also, that was an introduction. Okay, so you have something which is Keli Shemelachto Le'isur, and you want to move it on Shabbat, but there is no Tzorach Gufo, there is no Tzorach Mekomo. Now you want to move it because it's going to get ruined over here under the sun or whatever, it's going to rain, whatnot. You could go ahead and put something on it, like a piece of bread, a piece of cake, whatever, food, edible food, put it on it. We're not talking about the dead body. We're talking about, or you have your drill, you have your cell phone, right? Out there. So you put a piece of cake on it, or a kirishim melachto leheter. What is it? A spoon. Put a spoon on it. That's fine. Then you can move it wherever you want to, because you have something of heter there. So this is it's therefore it's. No, you don't need a shinui. You have this is a movement which is allowed, right? But we're talking about keli. Remember, we're talking about kirishim melachto leisur, right? It's different halacha by something which is let's say mukseh machmat isur. There is a difference between kelisha melachto leisur and mukseh machmat isur. We're going to get to mukseh machmat isur after this. Mukseh machmat isur. Okay, a candle holder, candelabra, which was lit in the beginning of Shabbat. Okay, Friday afternoon it was lit, Friday night it was lit, and now it's off. We said before that you cannot move it on Shabbat unless before Shabbat you say, once this candle is out, I want to move it because I'm going to have guests coming, so I don't want it to be on this counter, and so on and so forth. Then, if you make a condition before Shabbat that I want to move it, you could move it. This is a Grunter of now, this thing, let's say, this is not a Kirishim Melachto Le'isur. This is Mukseh Machmat Isur, because there's a Isur here, there's a fire. Fire is Isur on Shabbat. You can't move it around at all. Not because it's Kirishim Melachto Le'isur, because you pushed it off. Before Shabbat began, you said, this thing is off of my case. So over here, the Gemara in Shabbat, again we have to go back to Gemara in Shabbat, but much later it says, the Gemara says, Lo amru kikar otinok ela lemet bilvad. When Chachamim said that there is an allowance to move something mukseh, that was only for a dead body. But it wasn't for anything. You can't use that trick for anything. Rabbeinu Asher says that is only talking about mukseh machmat gufo, a higher level of mukseh, like a rock. Only over there, Chachamim in the Gemara said that you cannot move a rock. Okay, someone feels like I want to move a rock on Shabbat. No problem. I'll take a piece of bread and put it on the rock and I'm going to move it. No, Chachamim, that's what they meant. They said you cannot do that. It's not, you can't play games like that. That's only in that case, particular case, by a dead body that they allowed it. But, any Mukseh Machmat Gufo, you can't move. That's only that type of Mukseh. But Kelisha Melachto Le'isur, you could do it. Like your cell phone, you could move on Shabbat by this trick, putting a spoon or a piece of cake on it to move it. There's a hammer there, or there's something that's going to get ruined, whatever. You could put a piece of bread there and move it. Is this clear? Did I make the distinction?
I thought you could just do it with the shinoi and that's it.
Let's say you can't do shinoi. Let's say something extremely heavy. It's very hard. How you're going to do it with shinoi? Then this is another way of doing it. Yeah, you're right. If you can't, but it's sometimes it's not practical to do shinui. Like it's like you can't balance it between your pinky or your elbows. So this is another way of being able to do it. A sewing needle. We said it's a kelisha melachto. Was this previous one is a little heavy, but is it clear? It's beautiful to make the distinction between mukseh machmat gufo, kelisha melachto leisur, and mukseh machmat isur, something which is mukseh because of isur. Okay, like the candle with the fire, that's mukseh machmat isur. A cell phone is a kelisha melachto leisur. A stone is mukseh machmat gufo. It itself is mukseh, and they have different halachot. Okay. A sewing needle is a keli shemelachto leisur, and it's asur to move it unless it's a tzorach gufo mukomo. Chas v'shalom, someone got a splinter in their hand, in their finger. How do you usually get it out?
Tweezer.
Tweezer. There are tricks to do it. You put it in lukewarm water, and then it has no room to breathe. For after like 10-15 minutes, it starts coming out. Right. But let's say it didn't. Let's say it didn't. You need to use a needle. The tweezer is not going to work. You need to use a needle to stick it in there and get it out. Right? Is one allowed to do that on Shabbat? This is the tzorech gufo. You need the needle to use to get the splinter out. Right? It's going to bleed. Bleeding, that's not your intention at all. Your intention is to get the splinter out. So you're not looking for the blood. So that becomes the melacha she'eno l'tzorech gufo. You don't need that, right? You don't need the blood, and because there is tsar, it's asur midrabanan. Chachamim said it's asur, but over here there is pain. This thing is painful because of tsar. Chachamim never made a gezer on it, right?
So you could floss them.
Tsar. If there is tsar, if there is
Let's
the
say
person
your piece of
is.
steak stuck in your tooth, but you use it.
So
when
you use
floss
a thing,
A
a
floss.
zach,
Toothpick?
Toothpick. Yeah, use a toothpick. And if you want to floss. Nobody's stopping you.
But
You just
unless you know
floss
you're gonna
really
bleed.
fast.
Yes,
Yeah,
like that. If
you
you
can
know you're
floss.
gonna bleed, you can't.
No,
We just flossed.
just your intention is not
We
to
just
draw
flossed really
blood.
fast. That was last.
That's right.
Why, that was like
That's right.
why the class. was
Oh, really?
Yeah, you missed it. You missed the. Last week's class was intense. Right. So that should be encouragement for people to come to class, because we might not be recorded. So if your intention is not to draw blood, and it's not, you're flossing because you want to floss to get the stuff out. Some people like to see blood because it's good healthy for the gum. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. But flossing, a person really could. But we're scared. It might bleed and so on and so forth. And now the same thing here with this needle. Like he sticks the needle in to get this thing out. His intention is not at all for the blood at all. And okay, try not to do it very hard so you wouldn't bleed. But if it does come out, it is not melechet machshevet. It's not your intention, and it would be allowed. Yeah.
About splinter. So there would be there's no problem using tweezers to take a splinter out.
Right, tweezer also is a keli shemelachto leisur, just like a needle, and therefore one could do it. It's probably better because you don't have to prick the skin. You just try to find it. Yeah, it would probably work even better.
Yeah.
But that's the example that the poskim bring over here to find what the parameters of keli shemelachto leisur is. As we said before, if there is a hezek, there is a damage, there is you see chas v'shalom, the gas, the stove, the fire went off, right? The fire got blown. You should definitely close the thing and say, no, it's Mukseh, I'm not going to touch this thing. Like, it's a sakana. What do you mean? Gas is leaking. There's no question about that a person could go ahead and turn it and twist it and close it and shut it off. That there's no question about.
How about the box of what do you call electrical box? Can you shut it off? Because
There's what's going on. There's something going on. There's like you're afraid that there is an electric shock. There's going to be. Then it depends. I don't know. You have to assess the situation. If there's chas v'shalom, if there is any fear of pikuach nefesh, or safek pikuach nefesh, it could be a danger to life, then a person could certainly do it. Even safek, even if you're not sure, maybe it's a danger to life, then yeah. Sure. Okay. A pocket knife that contains knives and other things in it, is that mukseh? The knife is not. So therefore one could open it and use the knife. But try to make sure not to open the other stuff. The scissors, that's a keli shemelachto leisur, right? They have nail clippers, I don't know what they have 1,001 things. That's mukseh. But the knife is not mukseh. Therefore one is allowed to go ahead and use and open the pocket knife, no problem.
What about your keys on a keychain?
Very good. We're going to get to that.
Well,
Keys on a keychain. If you have other keys there, then it's mutar. it's mutar to use it. It's mutar to move it around. Better to get rid of the car keys. Even if you have a fob, you have a key fob there, you're allowed to move it.
So on Shabbat, you could take it out of the carabiner and just use the.
Better to take it out. Better to take the keys out and separate them from this. But if you didn't and you just want to move it, because you have the house keys, that is matir everything else on the ring.
So I could if I need the house key, I could take it off of the ring that's on the.
That you could do certainly. I'm saying
Do I
you could
need to
even
go
move the whole
shinui?
thing without shinui because you have your home keys on there.
To take the whole thing.
You could, if you want to do this is better. If you remove it, it's even better. But I'm saying you could even move the whole bundle,
Take it with you.
yeah. Yes.
Could you, let's say you have a purse with a bunch of Mukseh things in there.
Right.
And